Hey everybody, and welcome to the MTG Helpdesk in a special edition of RTFC. Read the freaking card. So this is a special series that we're going to do on the MTG Helpdesk and Anime Gaming, where we're going to go through some of the most complicated cards known in Magic the Gathering history, and we're going to try to explain them. I came up with this idea because of my Commander Play group. One of our players asked the question about, hey, has anybody ever heard of Ice Cauldron? Ice Cauldron happens to be one of my favorite cards, going all the way back when. So Ice Cauldron. It's not the most difficult card to understand. There is a lot of wording on it, and I know this is the reprint version, but the original one, you're going all the way back to like the beginning of the game. So it's an artifact. You pay X, tap it, you put a charge counter on Ice Cauldron, and you exile a non-land card from your hand. So any spell, any non-land spell, you may cast that card for as long as it remains exiled. All right, easy enough. And note the type and amount of mana spent to pay this activation cost. Activate this ability only if there are no charge counters on Ice Cauldron. So you need no Ice Cauldrons on it. You do that first tap, you lose the counter. Or you gain the counter. And then the second tap, you remove a charge counter from Ice Cauldron, add Ice Cauldron's last noted type and amount of mana to your mana pool, and you spend this mana only to cast the last card exile of Ice Cauldron. So the way I've dubbed this card, it's spell layaway. Simple enough. It's spell layaway, meaning that the first ability you pay X, tap it. So say if you have a spell that costs 3 red and 2 of whatever, and you only have 3 red on the board, well, really doesn't make a whole hell of a lot of sense there with the example. But you see what I'm saying is you pay that 3 red, you tap it, you exile that card, it gets exiled from Ice Cauldron, and then it taps Ice Cauldron, you put the charge counter on it, you make a note, okay, we're going to just spend 3 red, we got 3 red. Now your next turn, unless you have a way to remove that counter, your next turn you can tap the Ice Cauldron, remove the counter, you have that 3 red mana you initially used that you could spend on the spell, that's exiled with Ice Cauldron, and then just say that other 2, you can just tap 2 mana, boom, you got a 5-cost spell that on that turn you only pay 2 mana for. Yeah, it's convoluted. It slows down your spell casting, but if you're having issues with ramp and everything, it kind of can help out. And I've used and abused Ice Cauldron throughout the history of the card. That's why it's one of my favorite cards, and it's why this is the first card I want to introduce on the RTFC files, because it is also one of those cards that brings up a lot of conversation. So the ways I abuse Ice Cauldron is X cast spells. So if I have a bunch of ramp out there, I have an X cast spell that does damage, based on the X cast. I'm going to sit there and dump every single bit of mana I have on the board to exile that card through Ice Cauldron. Pray to God Ice Cauldron doesn't get removed, because then you look like a big fool, and it happens, especially in Commander. It's just nature of the beast. It's fun. But when I sit there and tap out 10 lands, put an X cast spell, I have 10 mana already banked for that the next turn, I'm going to smack somebody pretty hard for at least, like, say 19, 18, whatever that X value is going to be, because you can still use that mana that's stored in Ice Cauldron for that spell. So if you have issues with your mana fixing, Ice Cauldron is great for that too, to where, say you're running Esper, and I use Esper as an example because I like running Esper a lot. You only have, because somebody nukes some lands, you only have one of each color, but one of those spells takes 2 blue or 2 black to cast, or 2 white, whatever, it doesn't matter. But you only have a plains, a mountain, a plains, a swamp, and an island out there, because of land destruction. Well, say you got a card that costs Esper +2, you can pay the Esper, exile it to Ice Cauldron, next turn it's going to come out. So it does help with a little bit of mana fixing. If you have a spell that, say, takes 2 white plus a black and whatever else, you can use it towards that, to where, hey, now you have at least your Esper costs paid to Ice Cauldron. The next turn, when you're going to cast a spell and tap Ice Cauldron, at least that Esper cost is taken care of, or whatever that cost is that you need the 2 white for, the 2 black for, and then you tap the land out in addition to what Ice Cauldron has. So pretty simple. So this never was intended to be a long video, and this series isn't going to be a long series. It's a way to get more content out there for you guys and to explain some of the favorite cards we have in Magic the Gathering history that tend to be more convoluted and more trickier to understand, such as our friend Ice Cauldron here. And by the way, that artwork by Dan Frazier is one of my favorite pieces of art. If I could get a print of this, a canvas print of this, I would have this thing up in a heartbeat. So, um, further ado, that's it for Ice Cauldron. That is it for the RTFC files this episode. Thank you for tuning in. Hit that like and subscribe, smash that stuff. Check out the socials down below. I will have a new deck breakdown later this week, and then hopefully this weekend we'll start introducing our new player series. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks for checking out the MTG Helpdesk, and thank you so much for the support and the love to the RTFC files. Have a good one. This is Enemy, and we are out until next time. And we will see you guys later. Thanks for tuning in to the MTG Helpdesk.